Talent Whisperer. It's your host, Chipochedu. And today's guest is someone I've admired for a really long time because I love beautiful craftsmanship. I love nice things. And so today we have Ruth Mooto. Ruth is a fashion designer. She's a furniture maker and an interior designer. That's a bit of a tongue twist. Ruth is the founder and CEO of My Perfect Stitch. My Perfect Stitch is a furniture and interior design firm that designs amazing spaces for both corporates and homes through customized furniture and accessories. And I think it's also got a clothing line now and a clothing line. So Ruth is also a regular speaker, she's a regular panelist, and she believes that Zambia has got what it takes to compete at a global level in the fashion industry, and I imagine the furniture industry as well. So I'm really excited to dig into a conversation because I admire both. Like I said, I love nice things. I think your craftsmanship is excellent. The name My Perfect Stitch is apt. And also, I'm a fan of entrepreneurship. So I'm really excited to chat with you today. Welcome to the Talent Whisperer.
Thank you.
It's really nice to have you.
Thank you.
I've been stalking you. I mean, I've known about your business for a while.
Yeah.
I think we actually started around maybe the same time I started my business or slightly before. So I could see you in the startup kind of like world in those days. I left to, work in an organization. I think it was time to learn about business on the other side for me.
Yeah.
But I kind of like kept track of what you were doing. And I think I had I purchased a laptop bag once. And I just loved how precise, like I just loved like the little details of the laptop were very impressive for me.
Yeah.
I actually dare I say, I thought your business was owned by a white person.
Oh, wow.
I promise you. Because you always just assume back in those days,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
When you see very nicely done, especially African prints, you just think, this is maybe... So it's nice to see that local, entrepreneurs are also just doing such an excellent job.
Yeah.
So yeah, very excited to chat with you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ruth, like on this podcast, we always think that to understand someone, it's always nice to go to the beginning, like help us connect the dots, as they like to say. So maybe you can tell us about young Ruth. What was Ruth like as a kid, Where did you grow up? What did you get in trouble for? And what did you get praised for?
I don't even know if this is a good opening statement. I was talking about the questions and I was like, oh, I really love those questions. And then I was telling a friend of mine, she's asking me what I always got in trouble for. And I liked boys. I was just like, I don't know if I should go out there and say
oh my God,
I like boys. But yeah, oh my God.
Were you like, these kids can be really cute when they're like young and they're like, I have a boyfriend. Were you one of those little girls?
No.
Yeah.
I was just where I'm just walking in the streets and my mother better not find me because I'm working with a boy.
Oh,
I was like that.
Right. Yes. My mom once said we were driving in a street and I think there was a friend of mine who was walking with a boy and she was like, me when I see you, I'll just bash you.
That's
so
right.
That's that kind of feeling.
But it wasn't even like boys.
Yeah.
It was just I really enjoyed hanging out with boys. Mm-hmm. So it was the conversations was different. But also I think for me it was just the curiosity of why are you so adventurous? What is it? So even when you talk to them, even I used to hang out with my cousins and their friends. Mm-hmm. So even riding a bike, it was with my male cousins and a whole bunch of his friends. Mm-hmm. So the only girl there is me. So I was and I remember boy came to my house and my grandmother was just you need to know that a boy and a girl cannot be friends.
Yeah.
I'm just calm down. Calm down. But so I'm born and bred Lusaka, UTH.
Yes. There's a period of time where everybody in Lusaka was born UTH. Everybody in Dola was born
at
Dola Central. So depending on where you were born at the same place. Yeah.
And I lived, when my parents got married still in Chaisa, I was born, I think, when they moved to Materialist. And then they got divorced, I think, when I was 3 or 4.
Okay.
So I moved to Western Province with my grandparents from my mom's side. Mm-hmm. I think that's where I started my grade 1 from, in Mongo. And then a year into my grade 1, grade 2, they got retired and then they moved to the village. So I moved to Chipata to stay with my mom's eldest brother. Yeah, so I literally like crossed over. And I think I only did like a term there or something. Then I moved back to Lusaka. I went to live with my aunt in Chunga. I think I stayed there for like maybe half a year.
You've really like
I've grown up in different homes everywhere.
And it's not just homes, it's also just like geographically.
Yes. That I never think about it like that. But yes. And then I moved to live with my dad in Zingalume. So like that's where I kind of feel like my life sort of settled-ish
and like
and started. Yes.
Okay.
So that was like grade 3 to grade 6. And then I moved to go live with my mom in Woodlands. And then life.
This was like, so it was in phases.
In phases. So there was like a phase here, a phase here, a phase here. But I feel like the me looking at life started when I moved to stay in Zingalume with my dad. Because my dad used to work for the council as an electrician. So what he used to do was like he had a side hustle. So he would bake in the night and then I would sell the scones in the morning. But then he also had like a guy who used to sell in the in town, city markets, intercity and everything. So he would bake scones and then he would also bake cakes. And I used to watch him do it. So he'd be like, can you put the flour here? Can you do the whatever here? And then he was like, okay, now you're old, so let's count. So it's 20 scones. And then I'd be like, by the roadside, maybe like at 6. I used to go to school like at 10. So between 6 and 9, I'd be selling the scones. Then when I'm done, then I'd go home and then put the money somewhere, get bathed, and then go to school. And then that was like my cycle until we stopped. I think my mom came to see me. And then she found me by the streets.
Okay.
Yeah, it was fire. I was just like, not my child.
Yeah.
Not my child. Yeah. So that didn't stay long enough. Then I moved to stay with my mom. So I went to Woodlands A, grade 6 into grade 7. Then I went to St. Mary's Secondary School. My mom was a teacher there. So I did grade 8 to grade 12. And then
at St. Mary's?
At St. Mary's, yes. And then I moved into Unza. But then, like, I had a whole life while all this was happening because, like, even my entrepreneurship was, like, getting created in that. Because I think I've always been curious about stuff, especially, like, handmade stuff. So it's like, I'd look at something, I'm like, can I make that? And so I started with beadwork. So I'd always look at, like, beaded earrings or beaded necklaces. And I'm like, I'm very curious. And then, like, I'd go into Soweto market, or I'd go to Comesa market, and I'm like, can I find this thing?
And this was just out of your own curiosity.
Out of my own curiosity. It was like, there was not like I needed to meet something or do something.
You didn't need to go and do this stuff. You just got up yourself
just like
and
really,
went.
really curious. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And so I'll be like, okay, can you give me some money? And then I'll go in Comesa, I'll be like, can I find these beads? And then they'll tell me, okay, here, check. So I knew like where to find stuff, and then I'd go home and then I'd start beading and I make a necklace, and my mom was there, the mannequin, and I'm like, okay, let's try. Does this work? Okay.
And how old were you at this point?
I think I was like 13, 14, yeah, grade 9, grade 8, grade 9, somewhere around there. And it just evolved. And then my aunties were like, so I'll be like, okay, let me make for you. And I'll be like, hey, this to my skills. And she made them like, yeah. And I'm like,
and you just like, at the time, because I imagine there was no YouTube.
No.
To be like, how to make a necklace from beads on YouTube. So it was just like instinctive, or
yes, but sometimes because my mom used to get like gifted, those beaded, I don't know if they are mineral or something, but they usually sell them at I think it's the Sunday market. Yes. So like she used to have a lot of them. So I'd go and check like, okay, what type of twine is this? What type of thread are they using? And sometimes I'd carry it and go to Comesa with it and say like, can we find like, how does it work in your course? Like, does it like, and I'd be like, okay, just try it and see. And then some of them like have the elasticated thing. It's like, okay, let me check. Sometimes I wouldn't find, then I'd be like, okay, what else can I use? And like just normal thread, and then I'd make it like 3 threads or 4 threads or something. To make it a bit.
So you just thicker. So even then you just like instinctively kind of could find your way around creating these things.
And we just be like, okay, this works. Okay, this doesn't work. How do I do the clasp at the back? Okay, I can't find this, but what else can I use? And like, okay, how will it hold? And then you are pulling it. Okay, this is not working. Maybe let me try with a cam. Like you go to the stove and then you do the okay. Yeah,
and then it,
yes, and then you do like
together,
that.
yeah.
Yes. It's like, oh, okay, it actually does work.
Yeah.
And then I always had something to do, like away from my schoolwork. Like I'd always find something to do. And then I got my first job, I think when I was 15. I was grade 10, grade 11. An uncle from church, he was in charge of our youth group. So I was like, I think like we should get internships and everything. So he'd get like all of us during holidays, and then he'd put us in like different placements. So there's a restaurant opposite Family 24 Lumumba Road. Remember like a place, and I was like, okay, you go. And I was getting paid like 50 kwacha a week. And my mom was just like, Usebenza, I'm not giving you money.
Listen, you're grown now.
It's just like, hello.
You're grown now.
So that's like, I'm not giving you any transport, the same money that you're earning, just calculate it properly.
Yeah.
Just like, where's the care?
Yes, like this, this was supposed to be extra.
No.
How did this become part of the bills in the house?
Like you will have a job and everything. So that worked, I think, like from grade 11, every holiday I had a job. Grade 12, I didn't work because it was like exam year. So there's like all the effort is going to school. When I graduated, I felt like maybe I need to work in, this is grade 12 finishing. It was like, maybe I want to work in an NGO and everything. Like my thoughts were all over the place. And then I started looking for opportunities. So
because there was a time NGOs were a trend. Huh?
Yes, because it was just like, first
like,
the travel, and then you even have like a plan. Like for me to work in the UN, like you have to go through the NGO.
People be like per diem.
Yes.
Yeah. She built flats.
Yes. So I was saying the entire Gambian dream. You're like, this is how it's created. This is where I'm going to be. And then I got a job at Kaingo Lodge, which is now Latitude. I went in as an intern, but I was working hours. I used to work like from 9 to 21, so literally like 10 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I was getting 100 kwacha per month. So I was just like, no, just fun, you like a car space. But I was still very curious.
Yeah.
So I worked in every department. So I started house cleaning. I'll be like, how do you do these beds of yours? So they'll teach me. I'll be like, okay, I'll do house cleaning.
Do they call them hospital corners?
Yes.
I thought that was just a boarding school thing. Yeah.
But then like you go through the whole thing, so they'll show you like every morning, like guest wakachoka, you go inside and then you do the whole thing, you do things, and then you find all the things that you're not supposed to find, but they're still there. And then it's like, okay, I was like, okay, let's go to the kitchen. I learned how to then be like, okay, how do you plate? How do you do what? The garnish, the whatnot. Then from there, I went to the bar. They taught me this is how you serve people. This is how you talk to people. And then it's like, okay, from the bar, then you become a waitress. So I did all the departments. By the time I was leaving, I think I was a buyer. So I would now like go outside and buy. I knew all the people.
Nice.
And then my mom was just like, you're working too long, too hard, and 100 kwacha. And then she called someone, like one of her friends, like, can you find some things? Like, yeah. So I went to... what place? Impala filling station opposite the Dare.
The one with the pies.
With the pies, yes. It's a spot, that one.
I'm telling you. The one with the pies, yes.
So I was there, I think, for like 7 months. And then I jumped from my 100 kwacha to 1,000 kwacha.
Girl.
Bowling.
1,000% increment.
Just like that.
What?
I was just like, okay, this is how life could be. My mom was just like, whatever you want, mommy, you have a job at my mother.
Your mom has been, she's been consistent from that 50 kwacha. She was just like, hey, you earn now.
She was just like, you want a phone? Mommy, you have a job.
You've got a job.
Like, because I'd go and then like the Nokia, because she had a Nokia 3310. And like, mommy, even me, I want. It's like,
that phone. All of us, it was dreams.
And then there was like the Nokia 5110, the bigger
one. With that area.
My uncle had that phone. Then he got, I think, the 3310. So he passed it on to me.
Those days, it was just passing on.
Yes.
They even pass you in Nokia 5110 with the battery loose.
And then you do the Karaba band.
Yeah.
At
least you had the phone. Listen. It was something.
We did the whole thing. Then the Motorola came. So now it was like smaller. I can't even remember what those were. But then I was going to Unza. And then the other Motorola's, the Razor, came and it gave us praise.
Till today. that's the best phone I've ever owned.
Really? I didn't even own
it used to make me happy, like to flip it.
Yeah.
And the slimness, that for me, I've never felt like I've had some nice phones since, but that was the pinnacle of my arriving.
I couldn't afford it still. So
it was inherited. Of course, it was. A cousin passed it down.
I was like, yeah. But that was the phone. I think that was like the very first time I started feeling pressure of like the things that you could get out of life. But then my mom for me was like, you have to work for stuff. So I was like, okay, ufuna Motorola, but then like, can you afford it? And I said, no. I said, okay, fine. What other phone can I get? And I think I got like a Motorola, but it was like a different, smaller pink phone. And it was cute. It was like 500 kwacha. So I said, the month before I finish the pay, I'm going to buy 560 kwacha. And I bought it. That's just the level of achievement.
Listen, you know, the fact that you remember how much it was shows me that was a big deal.
It was
in
just
your
like
life.
a whole level of achievement. Yeah. And my mom was like, yeah, you see, so you can work for stuff that you want. Yeah. And I think like those were like the things that basically just pushed me into whatever else.
Those were the big lessons.
Yes. Because like then I knew whatever I want, if I put my mind to it, I can actually work for it.
And it's funny for you, those lessons started young. Those lessons started from counting the scones.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you think about your dad worked with his hands a lot, it seemed. He worked with his hands, you know, he was an electrician, then he baked cakes and scones. Do you think you inherited working with your hands from, or that's like gifts can be passed down and you also just inherited? It's manifested itself differently, but do you think that's something you inherited from your dad?
I think so. I think both my parents, because like even now, my mom is late, my dad is there. But then like when I'm talking to my dad, there's always this tones that like sometimes he laughs. I was in Solwezi 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I drove there by myself. And so he called me and he's like, who are you with? Did you go with your husband? And I said, no. And then he laughed. And he's like, okay, enjoy your trip.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, he's talking to me like he knows, like, I know whose daughter you are. You know, like, there's just
sounds like someone I know.
Yes. So, like, it's always been there. But my mom also, my mom was a teacher. Like, she started primary school and then secondary school. But what she used to do is, like, primary school essentially was like half a day. Or most of teacher is half a day. But she would go to school. At 12, then she'd go to City Market. She would buy groundnuts and then come back, and then she used to fry them in oil. And then she'd package them and then seal them and everything. And then she'd go to school and then she'd sell them to the kids. So, like, even when I had left my job, we'll come back to this. But then, I remember my aunt, my mom's sister, came to me and was like, you're just like your mother. So, like, it's now, like, at a very different level because now I run my own company. Them, it was just like, it's the hustle to add on. So it's like I just inherited both of them.
The hustle gene.
Yes, and then just came on and I carried it through.
The hustle gene 2.0.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it stresses my dad. Yeah. Like you can even look and you're just like, I'm your child.
Yeah, you're probably stressed because you can see yourself in me.
Yeah.
So tell us about the origins. I think it's been so fascinating hearing the makings of it, because sometimes we think our startups start the day that we incorporate them, right?
Yeah.
And yet it's just been a journey of these little things being pieced together.
Yeah.
To even give you the nerve to start at that point
That's
has
true.
been part of like all these things accumulated, right?
Yeah.
So at which point did you just decide that you're going to go for it? You're going to actually formalize the business? Because it sounds like, you've had the hustle gene, you've been doing things. But at which point did you say, this is going to be a company?
Yeah.
And I'm going to do what's supposed to be done. I'm going to go and, register the company. I'm going to have employees. I'm going to pay my taxes. It's going to be a thing and not just like a hustle. Yeah. What was that decision making like? What were the origins of it? What was the inspiration behind the name? So just what's the story of your company?
And so I became curious in the making of clothes, like way back. And it wasn't even that I wanted to run a business, because my plan was going to be like a PS, like a permanent secretary in government.
That was the dream. With what are they driving now?
GX. It's just...
Yeah.
Even I saw my life. I even had like a whole plan. Everything. I saw it. Me, because when I want something, like I put it to paper. So I was just like, okay, I'm here. Then this is the next level. This is how long will it take? I had the entire staircase.
Vision,
everything.
steps. Everything.
And then I had to quit my job because my husband went dollar. My husband got a transfer to Lusaka, and I said, I'm not doing.
So
this
you're in government?
thing. Yes, I was. I was in the Ministry
you,
of
you
Health.
you were on the path.
I had the whole thing. And I got into government at managerial level. So I was like, okay, so I know that I'm already Division 1. Yes. Now I just need to start climbing.
It's just the...
I was like, okay, I even applied.
No, you do have the permanent secretary. I can see it. I can see you in your GX.
So you can see it.
I can see it. Yeah.
Now the dream is gone.
No, you can still have a GX.
That's yes.
Yeah,
now the GX dream is still there.
Happening.
It's just the PS position. Yeah, it's gone.
Also, I love that the GX has just become part of the Zambian dream.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Let's
not do
okay,
this.
So I was just like, okay, so I had a whole plan. I did library and information studies at UNZA. And so when I was planning my PS thing, in the line that I wanted, because I wanted to go like in the Department of Planning. So everyone I kept on asking was like, you have to be a planner. I even applied University of London. I got in School of Economics. I was going to do economics. I was like, okay, they want like economists to be planners and whatnot. And then just as my books were coming in for first semester, and then my husband got his transfer, and I was just like, okay, I'm not staying. If we're moving to Lusaka, we're all moving to Lusaka. Yeah. So I left my job and I said, I will find a job or I'll find something. But a year before, my husband bought me a sewing machine. And he said, like, you have been talking about learning how to sew clothes. Stop bothering us with this whole shiny, like, here's your machine. Learn.
I love it. I love like here.
Yes. And I was just like, we keep talking about the same thing. Like, do something. Because I kept on saying, okay, when I get paid next month, I'll buy. Yeah. And I was just like, here, just learn. And so it came with a manual. And so I put it in, and they was like, okay, so this is how you thread a machine. This is how you do things. And it had even a red cloth on it. And then I put it there. I just stepped on it, and I did a stitch, and it was perfect. I even have it on my Instagram. Like, it's like the cutest thing. That was like March 2014.
That is such a good story.
Yeah, it was like perfect. So I was just like, I even put it as like my perfect stitch. It was just like a whole thing. But then there was no dream like I was going to run a business because I was still in government.
It doesn't start like that, does it?
No. Yeah. And so we moved to Lusaka now. I don't have a job. I'm pregnant with my second child. And I'm like writing all sorts of application letters everywhere. I'm buying the papers every day. But then I still have the whole day at home. So that's how I just started experimenting. So I was like, okay, let me try. Can I make a bag? Now my interest had actually moved away from clothes. So I wanted to make more accessories than I wanted to make clothes. So I was making like all different types of bags. So I'd do like a tote bag, I'd do like a clutch, I'd do like a pencil case, I would do a little makeup bag and stuff. And occasionally I'd make clothes. Maybe like I'll make a maxi skirt or I'll make like a top or something. But what I was doing is that I was posting like every day. Guys, today I made a bag. Guys, today I made
What medium were you using?
I was using my Instagram and my Facebook, but mostly my Facebook.
Okay.
And so like what they say, like people are always watching. Yeah. And so Stanbic was having their Anakazi banking launch. And so now they're having, what gifts are we going to give to people? And someone was like, oh, it would be so cute to give them like little makeup bags. And then like, where can we get? And someone who is sitting in that meeting is like, I have a friend who makes these things. Wow. Yeah. And so I get a call. It's like someone is going to call you from Stanbic. They want 250 bags, but they want them in 4 days. I said, okay. And I go to a wedding and they call me. It's like, hi, we're looking for this. We're launching this. Can you make? And then I was just like, yes.
Of course.
Yes. I was like, okay.
Oh, I have stories about things. I was like, yes.
Yeah. Yes. And then you have no idea.
No clue.
What? A lot of load shedding because it was like 2016.
That time when load shedding it was the worst.
Yeah. And then, so I was just like, oh, okay. So I go home and then I'm counting the days and I'm just like, I have no idea how this is going to work. So I said, okay, guys, we're turning the living room into a full workshop. So my brother-in-law, you will cut. And then you start cutting this, you place this here, you do this, and then me, I'll just be doing the joining. And I said, okay, but we want to achieve this. I went to Shawarma Market, and I said, I'm looking for a tailor who can sew but on a manual machine, like the choveling ones. And I said, you come to my house, you sit in the garden, and you just be joining. And then power went. So now we were dependent on him. So I was doing the cutting, and then he was doing the joining, and my brother-in-law was doing the finishing. We managed to deliver like 2 hours to the event.
What?
And I was just like, And
400, how many? 200?
250.
250.
Yes.
So even just like the process, like you just created a little factory in your head.
Yes,
here
this one, starting
this,
and everyone.
Yeah.
It was just like a whole thing. I was
Yeah.
just like, okay. And when I was charging them, I did, how much was I getting paid at my government job? And then I said, okay, let me just try if I can charge them the same exact, and then I can see if I can make the same amount of money in a week.
Doing this.
And then they looked at the quote and they said, yeah, okay. And then they paid me 5,500.
And in that moment, you're like, okay.
Yeah. And I was like, this could be a thing. And I was just like, okay, fine. So if I can make 5,500 in 1 week and I was making it in a month, maybe I should just consider this as a business. And that's how like even the conversation shifted. Now it wasn't like I'm just making stuff for fun. And even when I was talking to my friends, it became like, where can I learn how to run a business?
Yeah.
And that's how I found myself at Bongo Hive.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, everyone is leading me here. So what are we doing? Can I learn? And I was like, yeah. And that's how I even went straight into launch and not the Discover program. Because I was like, I already have a product that I'm making. Now I just want to know how to make it better and at scale. Can you do that for me? And then said, yeah. So now let's start working it out. Who is your target market? How do you want to produce this? How do you want to do this? And then they were like, and then the business name. And I said, My Perfect Stitch.
Came back.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. I stitch stuff. I want to stitch them perfectly. So My Perfect Stitch.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So, and then we went into the whole thing like, okay, this is, you have to incorporate your business. Sole trade, I said, if I'm a sole trader, I'm a consumer business. I don't think I want to be a consumer business. Like, if I don't have a job, this is going to be my job.
This is it.
And so we have to create it in such a way that it will actually be a job, and it will still get me in the rooms that I would get into if I still had my government job. And that was like my thinking.
Smart.
And that's how My Perfect Stitch was born.
I like it. I love that story. Before we get lost in that story, because I got questions, and I see that you and me can easily digress. So when you sum up all your experiences, all these parts of you, all the creativity, like there's a lot there.
There is.
But what would you say are your gifts? What would you say are your gifts and your talents?
I think I'm really great with people. I think like that's my superpower in a sense. Like I'm good with people. I have learned the art of it, and I'm good with people from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
From different social settings. I fit in. Like I'll go to Soweto Market, and then like you will not recognize me because I just like I'm like a Jane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then like you will find me in the president's office. Yeah. And I'm like, Your Excellency, this policy does not work. Because if we consider these factors that are affecting us at this point, we have to consider this and this and this. And so like I know how
so
to
you can go anywhere and
I will fit right in.
That's a powerful gift.
Yes, it takes a lot to basically work it out.
Yeah.
But then like I was talking to a friend of mine, it's like it takes a lot of self-introspection where you're like, how do I function when I walk into rooms, and then how does that look like? But also I think even like running my business, because my clients are very different from my makers. So it's like having to bridge that gap and saying like, even as you're creating this product, the type of person you're creating it for is like this. But even my clients, and saying like, even as you're receiving this product, the people who are creating
who made it for you,
they come from this type of background. And also like I'm very curious. I'm like extremely curious. I'm very like I'm just like, okay, I'm very curious, and I jump right in. Yeah. I'm very impulsive. It's a gift and a curse in a sense, but like I'm very like, this looks interesting. Can I come in?
Yeah, you don't question things so much.
Not so much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed something as we've spoken, and I don't know what that is exactly, but you seem to never forget numbers. You seem to never forget how much something cost and what it was, and where you were, I have recollections of how much I was earning when, but I don't tell stories like that. Like I can tell you the stories, I've also had like numerous jobs, and I know roughly what I was making, but it's interesting to me, and I don't know what that is, but I feel like there's something there. It's interesting to me that at each journey you remember numbers, you remember the number of scones, you know, like how much, then you move to this way and you remember your first job and how much, and the second job and how much. Like, you're really precise with those things, and I just find that like curious. I don't know what that is, but it's just something interesting.
I've never actively thought about it, but I like to make reference to, and so I think it also helps me navigate growth.
I was thinking more of that, like you, first of all, you keep your eye on the money, which is like really important for an entrepreneur, which is something I had to learn because it didn't come natural. And then secondly, you are probably like pretty, like you said, like your reference points come quick. Like you just, you connect things pretty quickly, which is also just sounds useful in life. Anyway, you were just talking about your type of clientele, right? And I was thinking this to myself, like beautiful craftsmanship. The reasons we pay so much for certain types of handbags, the reason handbags become collectibles, world renowned, whatever it is, it's not even a handbag, it's furniture, it's this, it's that. You know, beautiful craftsmanship is expensive, right? And like I said, one of the things that stood out for me with your products were just like how nicely they're done, or how well your bags were stitched, right? And I imagine to create something beautiful, you know, everything from the inputs, the fabric, or whatever it is that you're using, even the experience of the team, because if they're going to be precise, you just can't get anyone, right? So all this kind of contributes to it being expensive. But when you imagine how you position My Perfect Stitch, right? Do you see yourself, and if we look at it in the future, do you see yourself becoming like a luxury goods brand, or are you somewhere in the middle? And wherever that falls, like, what's your reason as to why?
I think I'm both luxury and in the middle. Considering the type of products that I want to go into and the type of lines that I want to go into, which is something that we even experience now. So I think it took me a while to actually understand that my brand was an aspirational brand. So like even now I have people who, they send me messages and they'll be like, I can't wait for the day I'll be able to afford your furniture. And I'm just like,
interesting.
Okay. And then I have other people who are just like, I'm saving up because I want this. And for a while.
So that's when you started to get the realization that you had aspirational products.
Yes. So I was just like, oh, it's actually a thing. Yeah. But then it was also times where even how I was responding to it, I didn't realize. But then like people would send me messages and I'll always be like, the day that you're ready, I'll be there. And then like I constantly used to say it. But then I think there was a day I had a light bulb moment where it was just like, do you realize that you're making a promise of the future? That you will actually be there when this person is like, now I'm ready to actually buy the product. And most of the times, even when I say it's like, it will even be a better product by the time you're coming, because I know like I'm putting in time, I'm putting in effort.
You're getting better every
every time. Yes. So even like when I sit, there's a certain range of furniture I want to be able to create for a certain type of experience that I want people to have in their spaces.
Yeah.
But then there's also a type of product I want to be able to create where someone will be like, I have in My Perfect Stitch something. Yeah. So even though they can't have the full range of furniture in their home, they're still able to say like, I had a 500 kwacha and I bought this and it's so amazing.
I had a makeup bag. Or
yes.
I had like a tote.
So it's like you don't feel like I need to have like 5,000 or 10,000 or 20,000 to be able to get a certain product. But then there's still certain lines and it's still a quality product. But then like even though you're mid-range, you can still afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, first of all, I love that. And I love that you kind of became an aspirational product without knowing. That's pretty cool. That's really cool. And it kind of leads me to my next question, which really is around the fact that I love that you've done this, right? You took that, what could have been, you know, tailoring, you know, to the next level by, you know, becoming an interior designer, like all these complimentary gifts, you know, making furniture, doing clothes. And maybe it's my background, because I don't know if you know this, but I've got a background in HR and in recruiting. And because you're that person, people are always asking for jobs. one thing I know is that there are not enough jobs. Like, I just know, and I don't know if they'll, like, in the next 5 years, there'll ever be enough jobs. And, our youth population is huge. We have thousands of graduates out of university every year. And I think to myself, like, it would be great if if people saw people like you, and this is one of the reasons I have this platform, is if people saw people like you who run businesses or who have elevated businesses from what felt very ordinary, right? I think of even just like making scones or making chitumbuas. Let's start with scones.
Yeah.
How the cupcake industry has grown, and people. So all those things, for people to think about jobs, not just like, okay, I have to get a job in a bank, but I could create something. What's around me? I could do something. I could have my perfect stitch of sorts, so I could elevate a chitumbua. If anyone elevates a chitumbua, that would be revolutionary, because if there's anything Zambians do is we eat vitumbua.
We really do. So we all have a passport.
Listen, everybody has a chitumbua spot and a chitumbua lady. So free business idea. But like, for me, that's the future. Yeah. That's how I see it, because I don't think there's enough jobs, right? And when you think about your journey, when you think about that traditional career you wanted with the PS job, and I mean, I have no doubt you'd have done it. Yeah. Right? When you think about the traditional career you'd have started, and then we have our graduates, or even if you're not a graduate, whatever it is, you just did your high school. Maybe you didn't even do high school. And your aspiration is still to get employed by the bank. Yeah. What kind of advice would you give someone who you're still looking for traditional employment? That is not happening because sometimes it's not because your CV is not great. It's not because you don't have the connections. It's just that the jobs are not there. They're not coming in. Right? So when you think about your own journey, what advice would you give someone who might be struggling with still wanting that traditional career, and just in the back of their heads, they know they can do something else, or they have something that they're good at, that they do informally, or they just don't think it's ever going to amount to a real job or a real business? Yeah.
I think it's just like the attitude, to be honest. Like, just deciding and saying that I want to take, because I feel like every job in a sense is entrepreneur. Yeah. It all comes from there. Like, all the banks, like, someone just looked at a business idea, like, I could lend money to this one, and then it would come back and get like 10% interest. But then, like, what if I created some level of structures around it? You know what I mean? So everyone still comes to work in the business structure. It's only that they don't see the owners or the shareholders. They come to the building structure and they feel like, I'm just going to a formal job. Even in a sense, I always have this discussion with people. I feel like government should be run as a business. It's a whole different conversation. But then,
that's another episode. So just like one full podcast. Yes. Listen, can we talk about
this? But then, so the difference is that we're at the start. And if you go to the start and you tell yourself that I want this to turn into this, but I'm here, what are the things I need to start looking at that will still create that type of formalization, right? So let's give an example of a chitumbua lady and say, you still want the traditional career, but then can we make a traditional career out of your chitumbuas? So what do you need to know? And the best example I always give is just, which I've been doing lately, I think maybe last year into this year. What I do is that I still want to be PS, but then in my perfect stitch, right? Yes. I still want to be a Mkwandi, but in my perfect stitch. Right. So what I do is I go and say, what is Mkwandi Chiwesakunda's
shout
job?
out to Mkwandi.
Hello.
She's
amazing.
Yes.
There's nothing that woman would ever do wrong.
Yeah.
Guys, the way I love her.
Yeah. But yes. We need to just push this episode. See us. We love you. Hang out with us.
I tell you, I love her.
Sorry, continue.
But then, like, I got to their job profiles. Yeah. And I'm like, what is the responsibility of a CEO? And you'd find like it's team management, it's strategic visioning, it's financial shanies. And I get those ones and say, so what does it require me to know or to learn? And then I push them to my side of the business. Because then I have a job, right? A lot of side hustlers feel like it's a side hustle.
Yeah.
So you don't even take yourself seriously. You don't have the wardrobe to go into a proper meeting. You don't understand this. I was talking to Montanga, she's the CEO for Zambia Manufacturers, Association of Manufacturers, and we were having a conversation yesterday. She's like, Ruth, you need to come for my stuff. Then I said, actually, like I downloaded, because they send us the budget inputs, like what we have to do as businesses that are associated with the association. And I said, I actually just printed it out because I want to spend this time over the weekend to read and know and everything. So what starts to happen is that you are creating your own job, which is the beauty of the away from the traditional thing, is that whilst they have a corporate ladder, right? And then you see it from a bank teller, you become the supervisor, then you go to back end, then you are branch manager, then you are head of something, and then you are regional head. So it's sort of like there's already a structure for you. The beauty in the entrepreneur sense is that you create your own ladder at your own time, with your own whatever you want. And if you come with that attitude and say, can I learn everything that I need to learn? Even the opportunities start coming for you, because then you're like in a room where you're just like, oh, okay, this is what is happening. How can I be associated to this? What is it that I need to learn? You go, you read. And like a lot of places, they don't even ask for your papers. No one will ask that, what is your degree? Where is your what? Where is your whatever? Which we never explore in the non thing. But then like the opportunities are so much. So if we come to the table with ourselves with that attitude of saying, is there a way I can create my own career even though I'm not in a traditional sense? What are the things I need to know? And also just not being afraid to start small, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a lot of patience. Because for some time you don't have money, and then you have to prove yourself. Your name has to be, like, you have to build the credibility, the integrity, and everything, where now, like, a lot of people see the type of jobs we have, even with the clients that we have, and they think we were just born like that.
Yes, like one, like, and that's what, that's what people think, like, you just, like, woke up and it was, like, boom.
No. There's just someone who was watching. And like we even laugh about it, because now I know, like, there's been people who've been watching me from 2016, and because
I've been watching you from 2016. Yeah.
But then like it would be like the confidence when you hear we did work for this, and you'll be like, oh, okay, let me give her a call, because like it's been built. But that is the advantage that someone who is in the non-traditional sense, like you can literally build your life the way you want it, without the formalization of I need to talk to HR, will they give me 2 years to go and study? Do I need to do things? So in a sense, like if we came to the table with that, then we'd be able to see all the opportunities that we can get.
Yeah, that is like really, it's profound, because you were also just, I was thinking about what you were saying, and we were talking about my entrepreneur journey earlier, and I was thinking that if maybe I also took some of those things you've just talked about into practice, because one of the things I struggled with was I was hell-bent on proving myself and not just realizing, like, wait, I could actually just go and create this job. I like the journey to become CEO was mine, and was not for someone else to come and say, oh my God, you're a CEO now, like high five. I could have created that for myself. Yes. And I think the next time I do that, I'm going to definitely take a leaf from you. Yeah.
You honestly earn your table.
You build your own My Perfect Stitch
I tell
table.
You. And the difference is that you are a founder and CEO.
Yeah.
You're just not CEO. Like, you created the thing to a level where you're just like, I understand what you're talking about.
That was really useful. I like that. I think that was the thing that sometimes misses. Like, yes, you said attitude, but sometimes people just say attitude, but you added some meat to the attitude. You added some context of what someone can do to improve their feeling. Because sometimes it's a feeling and an attitude towards your business and your job, and that feeling you wake up with when you're not feeling like a CEO, like a founder.
Yeah. But sometimes what helps, maybe I can just jump in, is like when you make the decision, even your actions towards it sometimes are not even based on feelings. Like, I always talk about, like, I go to work. People mean, like, what do you mean you're going to work? You run your own business. And I say, no, like, I go to work. Like,
it's work.
Yes, like, I work Monday to Saturdays. So I know that, and most of the times I get to office, like, 7:30, sometimes even, like, 7:15. And there are days when I'm really exhausted, like, even after this Livingston trip, came back on Sunday. I was so exhausted. But I was in the office like 7:45. And my friend is calling me. He's like, I thought you were sleeping. I said, no, child, I got to work.
No,
you
I
know,
have a job.
I have an actual job.
Yeah.
And like, it's a whole cultural thing, because a lot of times people see business owners as you are self-employed or you run your own business, so you don't have the responsibilities that me who works in an institution has. I'm like, no,
it's even more.
I have more because me, I'm paying people, I'm paying rent, and I need to find business. You have like all the other people who are helping you to be able to do your
part
thing.
of the machine.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we were talking earlier about how when you're a founder and CEO, even public holidays are pressure, because it's another day you can't make money to pay the bills, And over time, you've been running your business for a while. And at what point, like you said, you sometimes come in on a Sunday and then you have to be in the office on the Monday. And how have you found balance? Because I know sometimes when you run a business, you just never switch off. It's hard to switch off. Like, have you found any balance? What does self-care, what does rest look like or mean for you? Yeah.
Maybe now better. Anyway, it's a whole thing. I'm a workaholic. Let's just put it out there.
Okay.
So that
add some context so we'll manage our expectations about self-rest. Yeah.
I work all the time. I'm always and like I work and I'm always creating in my head. So like I work physically and I work in my head. I'm always looking for ideas. Even like I will go to a space, in Livingston, we're seated, we're having like such a social conversation, and I got off my phone and I started taking pictures of chandeliers. And someone was like, oh, I can take a picture of you. Then I said, no, just taking pictures of the chandeliers. And someone else was like, oh, she's an interior designer.
She's working. She was just like, ooh.
Yes. And I was like, that's why she's doing what she's doing. But then I do my nails. That is self-care. It doesn't matter if I have money or if I don't have money.
The nails?
You'll find me on a shabby day and whatever with my nails.
But the nails
will not show you what I'm going through. Like it's happiness. And I realized this because there was a period, I think maybe 2018 to 2019, my nails were always done.
Yeah.
And then I went through this financial hit, like 2019 to 2020. We're moving into our house, I remember, And I feel like every resource had to go towards that
making
project.
that happen.
And I stopped doing my nails, and I was just sad. Yeah. And I didn't realize that it was the fact that my nails were not done. And then 2021, one of my besties, for my birthday, she said, like, this is my birthday present to you, so we're taking you where you used to do your nails. And she didn't even tell me. She was just like, here, I already have an appointment for you. And said, so after this, we're not going back to a day where your nails are not done. And I said, okay, I don't have money. She says, you'll find.
Because this is for you.
Yes, this is for you. Like, you need to find the one thing that you don't feel like you are doing towards a collective end. Like, just something that is just well and for you. And I always have a good bottle of perfume.
You have to have your things.
Yes.
And they have to be yours. They have to be very personal to you.
Yes.
And whenever you compromise.
Well, it just feels like I'm killing myself softly.
Yeah. For me, it's going out to eat. I've even got people who know that people want ifisuma. Like, no, I don't want the food at home.
No.
I know there's food at home, but I don't want the food at home. Because if I don't eat out for a while, I'm just like, what is this suffering?
Yes.
Who am I?
Yes, like I've lost myself. Like, this is not
And it can't be hungry lion.
No.
No.
Like, it's proper.
We need cutlery.
Yeah. And like a white sheet.
And wine that costs
it's significant.
A little bit above.
Yes.
Then that's how I also like. Okay, we're still a person. We're still here.
Yes.
And no matter how broke, we're still a person. We're still here. And I guess everybody has their thing.
I think everyone has their thing, because I remember like where I go for my nails, they increased prices by a significant amount. And then I started like maneuvering, like, okay, let me try this one. Then I said, it's the experience of my nails that I go for. Not necessarily
it's
like
not
the finish.
It's not just the fact that your nails have to be done. Yeah.
It's just like I went somewhere, then they were asking me to dip things in tuition. I said, where I go, they have like a car thingy that you just reach and
They've got the machine.
And then shiny. And then like they were doing my toenails.
They've invested in the
everything.
atmosphere.
Yes, they were doing my toenails and they asked me to sit on this and it was doing like I was just like, this is why I pay money. I like paying money. Like like when I walk out and they tell me that onion has finished, like we'll sort it out. Just don't ask me about onion if my nails are not done. Like it's the whole thing.
I love that. That's another thing. I feel like we have so many gems on this episode because that's another thing. Like figuring out the thing that's for you and being unapologetic about it.
Yes.
And all of us, it's something different.
Yeah.
So what is it for you? And figure that out and honor it.
And it takes time, because like a lot of us come from a background where we didn't have.
Yeah.
So, and like necessities were fully necessities. So it was just like, there's no mini meal or we are eating this and this. And so now where you find yourself in a space where you know that there's a necessity, but you want to do something for you and you know that it fully makes you in your full capacity, it takes a lot to be like, this is me. And I like me, and I'll spend money on this, because there's always the other people who will say, you know what I mean? Like,
like it's if you put that money in a business, or if you save that money, they even do the calculations
for you. I was like, no, go and do it
we
yourself.
Don't do that here.
Like, no, it's okay. But then like having to accept, because I remember there was a time when I just started like getting in planes, and then someone came and said, there was a period I didn't travel, and they said, no, first when I started traveling, because I was like back and forth traveling, and it's like, Ruth has stopped getting on buses, now it's just planes. And I could feel the car dark.
And I was like, my response to that is always, I'm skipping.
It's like, but like having to get in, like me and my best friend are always talking about like, we have a standard. Maybe we should have a meeting where we should start raising our standards. You know what I mean?
You should invite me.
You'll come. You will enjoy it. It was like, okay, this is level, like, okay, we've done this, so what does like level 2 look like? And then like let's start playing around and flirting with it, and then you get comfortable with it, and then you go to the next level, and like next thing you just be like, I was just having
this is what we do.
This is what we do. It's
a business class. Me.
That's all.
Okay. Like I said, you and I. Anyway, what's your vision for My Perfect Stage? I'm really curious. And what are some of the things, apart from that, is there anything else you want to do? What else are you yet to do? What's the picture? What's that thing you've written down? Step 1, step 2?
Written a lot. This year I'm doing 34 hard things.
34 hard things?
Yeah.
My brain is like, okay, so that's how many things a month? I like to break things down like that.
Okay, first I'm still like just creating that list, because it still challenges me. Like, because it's one of those things where like, it's something I'm scared of, and then when it crosses my mind, I write it down as quickly as possible so that I don't
go into that hard thing.
Not even remembering, because you can easily talk yourself out of a hard thing. You'll be like, maybe we're not ready. So like I'm doing that. But I think like starting last year into this year, it's been like one of my most interesting spaces, because I feel like I found the curious me again. The thing, I think what they don't tell us about businesses or about life essentially is that you go through your valleys and your mountains, and most of the times when we're looking outside, inside out, outside in, we're always thinking like, you run a business and it looks great because pictures and products look really, really nice. You don't see the whatever emotions that you're going through.
The normal cycles of life.
I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my God. Like,
who am I?
Oh my, yes. And then you're like, oh my God, that was me. I am that girl. So I feel like this space has been...
I think we also just need to acknowledge that everybody goes through that.
Yes.
When like Michelle Obama said she goes through that, I was like,
we're the same.
We're all the same. Like, we need to acknowledge that, because I think sometimes Instagram, especially because of its pictures, or just social media, makes us think every day is your best life.
Yes.
But we all go through...
Especially people who post every day as their best life. Just like, no.
But it's a cycle. I just wanted us to acknowledge that, because I feel like we're living at a time, because there's a lot of people who think that even for me, every day is like, high, and yet I have cycles as well.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I felt that was important.
It is. I think we even need to talk about that a lot more, or just encourage people in their safe spaces to be able to have those conversations and just remind them, like, there was a fire you had, but it's okay that we're going through this, and your fire will still come, like if you're very intentional about it. I was telling you about the vision.
The vision. I was like, I don't know. The vision.
But yes, so I've been having very interesting conversations. I've been finding new mentors, and I'm very excited about that. I've been asking hard questions, but also I've been having conversations where I'm okay with people telling me I can dream a little bigger. And so, like, they'll be like, yeah, my perfect stitch is great, but how come people don't know about it? And then we're like, what do you mean? It's like, you're hanging out with people who already know what you do, but like, are there people who don't know? And can you stop being comfortable sitting there just because you have a few monies that come your direction? Like, can you think about these people in Solwezi or in Chingola or end of Zambia? Are there people in Kenya who know your product? What are you doing about that? And you're like,
those are some good questions.
Yeah, and then so by the time you're going back and you're just like, maybe I'm not dreaming, because I've been giving myself that space and saying, okay, what am I currently producing? What does it look like if I needed to touch all of Zambia? But then what would it look like if it was Southern region? And then what is Southern region? What are the things that are required of me to get into Southern region? What would it look like if it was Eastern region? Okay, I was talking to someone and they had a laptop bag from Kigali. And I was like, but then why are you very comfortable carrying a laptop bag from Kigali and not carrying a My Perfect Stitch laptop bag?
That's far.
Yes, yes, you know. And then literally I went and I said, here, this is a bag you're going to carry because you're a Zambian and you need to carry a Zambian laptop bag, you know. But then I was looking at it and saying, this is like a really good bag. And so even when they carry it, it's not necessarily that they bought it from Kigali. It's also the structure of the bag. And asking myself, it's a good bag, yes. And saying like, okay, so what are the things then? So it becomes questions of not only producing at scale, but also like the quality of things. So those are the things that I'm investing in now. I'm also looking at just getting my furniture out into like the region. So I'm attending the Africa Travel Expo in Durban next week. And I'm just looking at getting like, if you go to Rwanda, for example, you go to Nigeria, for example, you go to Morocco, can you go to some luxury lodge and you find like there's My Perfect Stitch furniture there? So I'm exploring that and I'm very excited about it. Yeah. So, but then I'm also starting to understand that I also have like other interests away from my business. It took me a lot to actually be okay sitting there. And I was just talking to someone, I was like, it would be so cool to own a mine. And so now I'm like reading stuff about that.
That would be great.
You know?
Call me.
I will. So like, I'm in that space where I'm exploring and I'm like, okay, it might not happen now, but then like if it happens when I'm 52, it's still okay. But then I still want to honor the fact that I'm curious about something and give myself the time and the allowance to read about it. And I love to travel. So I still have like those countries where I'm looking at. I was like, see you soon.
See you soon. I'm
coming.
I'm coming. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So I think this is like a bit of I learned in the last episode that we have a bit of a call to action. It's a bit of a call to action. I feel like if someone is looking for a bag.
Yes.
I know you have
a
great
My Perfect Stitch bag.
A My Perfect Stitch bag. Where you found?
In Olympia. Parliament Road, 25 Parliament Road. So
25 Parliament Road.
Opposite where the president gets in when he's getting into Parliament.
So you know there where the president gets in.
Find it.
Yeah, find it. I think that's pretty cool. I'll challenge myself as well. Yeah. Because sometimes when we go, when we travel and we get we're like, oh, let me get this. Okay, but you don't know that you can find something that looks just as good locally. Okay, so you and I can chat forever. I've seen where this is going. There were so many directions. I'm learning this podcast thing because when it started, I used to go everywhere. The spirit leads, But now I'm kind of learning to be like, okay, come back. It's okay. You can talk to Ruth after. You can bring her back. Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Keep time. Yeah. So thank you so much. It's been so fun talking to you. We always end the podcast by allowing the guest to ask a few questions. We do 3, but sometimes if it's 1, if it's 2, that's all good. Okay. So, Ruth, do you have any questions for me?
I love it because, first of all, I was telling you that I've been getting new mentors. And so I have this whole conversation with them, and I always close with, do you have any question for me? So
Yeah.
like, you're the first person that I'm meeting who is asking me that. And it's like,
Okay. Full circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why a podcast? There's like millions of podcasts.
Yeah. So why a podcast? The first fantasy was the TV show.
Okay.
When I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first fantasy was a TV show, and it just felt like this other thing. It just felt hard. It felt like, oh, this thing is hard. And also, I've gone to university. I need a real job. So the first fantasy was always a TV show. Then podcast came on. Then it just became easier to have a podcast because I didn't have to ask anyone's permission to have a podcast.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is just the interpretation of the dream to have a TV show and, talk to a lot of interesting people. But I think for me, like, I've had a great career in HR, and this was that outside of the box thing where you're like, this is a challenge. I don't know how this is going to marry with what I've done. But I'm really, really interested in exploring this media space. So I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try and do it, and put everything I've learned together and then create I guess that's why I podcast. All I knew is I wanted audio, I wanted visual.
Okay.
Yeah, because the vision was so that's because I guess it's honoring the 10-year-old girl in me who wanted a TV show. Yeah. Yeah, that's why a podcast.
Are you going to do a TV show?
That would be I like a podcast because
it's comfortable.
It's comfortable, the creativity, the space. You could do so much with it. But if it turns into a TV show, why not? But right now I'm happy with this. This has been so fun. This has been like and did you know you're our last season 1 guest?
Really? Closing it with a bang.
Closing it with listen. Boom. Maybe we just try and untie this mic and drop it at the end. But so who knows?
Yeah.
I'm remaining open, but I'm really, really enjoying this type of work.
That's good.
Yeah.
So do I have one question left or two?
You have two. You have two.
Okay. What does intentionality look like for you?
I think that's a really good question. So I try to do everything with intention. I always ask myself, why am I doing this? And does it serve not only me well, but does it serve the good of humanity? Like what's the good in this? I think there always has to be good in this. How does my gut feel about this? Yeah. So intention is what drives me now. There are things that I just do randomly, and I think everything that I do without thinking about and without having an intention always just is super hard or is dodgy. But whenever I think about something and whenever something comes, like, you get that thought or that download and you're like, and then I want to do this. So it's impulse. I'm also impulsive. Yeah. So the impulse, I've learned to just take a bit and say, but why am I doing this? What's my intention behind this? So intention is everything. Okay. For me right now, I question everything. I question guests. Even when I think about someone and I look at like why I would want to interview someone, I ask myself the real question, like why? Is it just because you like how their Instagram page looks? Yeah. Is it because of their followers? Because that's a thing. Yeah. Because you get a lot of like, oh, you should get this person because they've got a lot of followers and they're pretty popular. I'm like, but what's my intention in talking to them right now? Because I think there's still people like I'm yet to interview that have big platforms, some that have small platforms. Some of my guests don't even have Instagram. It's not even Instagram, like social media handles. Yeah. So, like, what's my intention? Why do I want people to hear this person's story, or why do I want to hear this person's story? So, intention pretty much is guiding a lot of things. I wish it could guide everything, but in my human self, sometimes I forget to ask myself why, and then I just do something. And sometimes I even have the wrong intention and I do it anyway. Then I suffer the consequence. The consequence is always suffered. Yeah. Okay. So that's about intention.
Like I have more questions as you're talking. But
let's do one more. Okay. Then we can talk in life.
What would be like a I have lived moment for you? Like, like you are 82 and then you're like, they say, okay, tell us like, okay, that moment you felt like I have lived. It could be you've done it already or you've never done it before. But then like, what is the I have lived moment for you?
You know what? One of the things I really love about my life is I think I have lived already.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I live now.
Yeah.
I am very intentional about living life on my terms.
Okay.
And enjoying my life. So I really enjoy my life. I like my life.
That's good.
I like my friends, you know, I like my family. You know, let me not even say like I love my family. I love my job. I love my partner. I love.
You love your life.
I love my life. Yeah. So, I think I'm blessed. So I was thinking about this like, okay, if life ended
today,
don't watch this, Mom. If life ended today,
yeah,
I would be okay because I think I've had a great time. Yeah. The last time I was in Livingston, I went to the Devil's Pool. Yeah. So those are those moments. So every time I just do stuff, you know, I make sure I push myself. I make sure I'm uncomfortable. I make sure I'm childish, I'm silly. And there are a lot of people waiting for me to grow up. How will they wait? Because it's serious, but it's not that serious. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm okay. I think I love my life. So if I keep going at the trajectory I'm going, and then if I make millions and millions of dollars to allow even bigger experiences at 82, I'll be tired but happy in my rocking chair, just smiling. Because you know, I I'll be that old lady with the stories. Yeah. So okay, so I think I love my life. So I'm living.
That's good. Mm-hmm. So cheers to intentionality.
Cheers to intention. Why did you ask about intention?
Because I feel like a lot of people don't live with intention for their life.
I agree.
Like it changes a lot. Like I think like a lot of people want stuff for their lives, but they don't do things to create those things for their life, and that's where they
are waiting for a genie.
Yes.
Or you know, God, or because I think God has given that, like, intention is from God, like everything, the idea and everything that we do is from God. Yeah. So I agree with you on the intention part, but I also think that people underestimate who God is in their life.
That's true.
They think it's just this guy you find on a Sunday in church, and yet he's everywhere. He's here. He's there. He's talking to you all the time.
All the time.
He's telling you where you need to go, what you need to do, he's all the time.
All the time.
And if you listened and then you acted with that intention, like,
it's always,
you'd have a
I always say that God
life.
made me possible because the conversations me and God have. Yeah. It's just like my friends even tell me like, you and God though. Like, because
I had a question about spirituality, but I ran out of time. But okay. Here it's coming.
Yeah. It's just it's like now I always go back. I have a favorite song, but it has a line that says, "And when I'm doing well, help me to never seek the crown, for my reward is giving glory to you." And like all the time, like every time I have a car, I always go back to that song because it's always like, if people understood how me and God had a whole back and forth around the situation, and then when you see me, I think, hey, Ruth is flourishing. Like
when you see the GX.
Yes. The day will come. But it's just having that all the time, because I'm always like, every moment I speak, I always have Holy Spirit, you have to sit with me. Because like I know where I'm coming from. Like I know where, when, how, what, when. And it's always the thread of it all. Yeah. And guys, I don't know how people do life without God, because me, it'd be insane.
We all need something.
We all do.
We all need something. Yeah. Ruth, thank you. This was an amazing conversation. I really enjoyed. I think this is the first time we've really talked, which is nice.
It's the first time we've met in person.
In person.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I've met you in person before? This is crazy. Anyway. See, that was easy. It was really nice to meet you. I really genuinely enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for being our last guest in season 1.
Thank you.
I think this was a nice way to close off, because this was a nice way to wrap up everything we're trying to do with this podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Talent Whisperer. If you enjoyed it, make sure you rate, you like, and you review, So we'll catch you soon when we're back with season 2 of The Talent Whisperer. To everyone who's watched 10 minutes of one episode the whole season, really, really grateful for your time. It's been an amazing experience for me and the team here, and we don't take your time for granted. So thank you, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Cue music. Thanks, guys.